Hello, welcome, welcome, welcome. Hi there, folks. Welcome to Sonia's Real Estate Connection. I'm your hostess, Sonia Mays, real estate broker with Midwest Executive Realty at Park Place in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I am your local trusted real estate expert and licensed broker in the great state of Wisconsin. I'm proud to serve Greater Milwaukee and the surrounding areas in southeastern Wisconsin. Our office is located in Park Place, which is just east of Highway 145, and we're just minutes away from Menominee Falls and Germantown. Thank you for tuning into this episode. It is always a pleasure to serve my listening audience in this capacity, and I am always delighted to share my time, energy, knowledge, and resources with you. All right, let's get right into it. Today we're talking about REO properties or distressed foreclosure properties, and more specifically, how to successfully purchase a City of Milwaukee tax foreclosed property. As the title states, the ABCs of buying city-owned Milwaukee tax foreclosure properties. Some of you might be wondering, what are city-owned properties? If you are, these are properties that the city has foreclosed on due to tax delinquency and tax foreclosure. So these are properties where the previous owner fell behind in their taxes and they lost the home to tax foreclosure. The process is very similar to a bank foreclosure, where a lender or financial institution forecloses on the home uh, uh, for the owner's failure to pay the mortgage, or they've defaulted on their mortgage, or got behind in the mortgage payments. So in that situation, property owner, homeowner who defaults on the loan, typically after 90 days delinquent, the bank can serve a notice of intent to foreclose, giving the owner an opportunity to catch up on those payments before an actual foreclosure suit is filed with the local courts. So once the foreclosure is filed in the proper courts, it goes through the legal system for the bank or lender to take back possession of the property. Once they have confirmation of the foreclosure sale, they can serve the owner or the occupant of the property with legal notice, and they can proceed to evict them out of the house, or in some cases, they actually keep them in the house as tenants while they prepare the home for sale. They will assign it to a real estate agent who will list the property and put the house on the market for sale while they represent the bank owner. City foreclosures operate in pretty much the same manner as many bank foreclosures, in that they are foreclosures, but the foreclosure is not due to a loan default. It is rather due to a tax delinquency or tax default, if you will. So the property is owned, by the city once they take legal possession of it, and they have taken the house back due to delinquent back taxes and property taxes. This whole process usually takes a couple of years. It's not a short process. A lot of us wish it were, but it's not. So it can take 2 or 3 years or more for the property to go through the complete tax foreclosure process, which is why oftentimes you will see boarded up properties, vacant, abandoned properties that may have been sitting empty for long periods of time before they actually go up for sale, or before you will see a yard sign on the property. You may have heard terms such as ghost properties, or phantom properties, because they're kind of in the middle of the foreclosure process, where the owner has abandoned the house or left, or they've gone and they can't be found. So there's no way to get in touch with the owner, and the city is still in the process of taking over, but has not yet gained full legal authority over the property, so they can't act as full legal owner of the property, because they're still in that process. They're waiting for the courts to declare their ownership before they can take full legal possession of the property. Why does it take so long? Well, Wisconsin is a judicial state, and everything has to go through local jurisdiction. Typically, a Wisconsin foreclosure takes about 12 to 18 months from start to finish. And then there's also a redemption period, which gives the owner a certain period of time to try to redeem the property. They can work out a payment settlement arrangement to pay off the past due taxes, but it has to be done within a certain agreed upon time frame. Otherwise, the foreclosure will proceed, and the property will go to tax foreclosure. Once the process is completed and the city is legally able to take possession of the property through tax foreclosure sale, and they have sale confirmation, they will go through a process of selling or liquidating the city-owned assets, and they will, if they do not list the property themselves, then they will assign it to one of the REO listing brokers. And we are one of those brokers. And so they sell them for what they can get for them based on fair market value or based on the actual condition of the property. They do not sell them based on the amount of taxes that are owed. So, if you look up on the city website, you see that there's, $5,000 worth of back taxes. They're not going to put it on the market for $5,000 based on the back taxes. So they get what they can for it based on fair market value or condition of the property. They are the government, so once they take possession of the property, the taxes are wiped out. The property becomes tax exempt for the time that they own the property, because they're not going to tax themselves. So oftentimes you will see the tax status as tax exempt in the year that the city owns the property. And once a new owner buys it, it is no longer tax exempt and will become a tax producing property and back on the tax rolls. This will typically occur the following year. So if you buy a city property, let's say you purchase a city property this year, 2017, then the property or the taxes should be exempt for the current year. And then the following year, 2018, is when the tax will go back into a taxable status. So if you buy your property this year, you close on it this year, the City of Milwaukee tax bills are issued in December. You should not be getting a tax bill for 2017. However, January 1st of 2018, the property will go back to a taxable status, and so it will start incurring and accruing taxes. So when the next tax bill comes out in December of 2018, then that's when you would receive your first tax bill, which is really nice because it kind of gives you a little buffer, gives you some time to work on the house, because oftentimes these homes are not in habitable condition. It's going to take some time and money to bring the house back up to code compliant standards and habitable condition. So it gives you a little bit of time to do that before you get your first tax bill. But all of the other expenses will still incur: water, sewer, and general upkeep, maintenance of the property as you are rehabbing it. So if you want to buy a city-owned property in the City of Milwaukee, you will need to identify a property of interest and secure funding or financing to cover the purchase price of the property plus the scope of work or renovation cost. People will come into our office or they'll call me and say, "Hey, we saw this property listed for sale for $10,000. We have $10,000 in the bank, so we want to put an offer on this house." Ask, "Okay, have you seen the scope of work? Are you familiar with the scope of work?" And that's when they say, "No, what's that?" Well, the scope of work is a list of repairs on the house that are needed. It's actually a minimum list of repairs that are needed to bring the house to code compliance and habitable status. It represents the city's estimated rehab cost for labor and materials. It consists of interior and exterior rehab costs. Some of the items can be reduced by sweat equity labor, such as painting, putting up smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors, windows, doors, lock changes, things of that nature, and things that don't require a city permit or a licensed contractor. So in those cases, you can submit a modified scope of work to adjust the estimated rehab cost on the property and thus reduce your overall proof of funds and pre-approval satisfaction that's needed on the property. So when you submit an offer on a city-owned property, you will essentially need 4 items submitted with your offer to purchase. Number one, you need the signed offer with the buyer information sheet, and that's part of the city offer package. So it should be the last page of that offer, and any real estate agent can walk you through that. That's familiar with City of Milwaukee properties. Number two, you will need a proof of funds or pre-approval letter to cover the purchase price and scope of work. Number three, you will need an earnest money check. Number four, you will need to submit a scope of work, either the original scope, and then there's also a fifth item. If you're purchasing in the name of an LLC, you will need your LLC articles or corporate entity documents submitted with the offer. We'll go through these items in a little bit more detail so that you can have a basic understanding of this. And there are many other caveats that may come up at the time of the offer or the showing, and that will need to be reviewed and discussed in greater detail at that time. But we'll go through these main items, basic items for your information for today's purposes. So number one, the signed offer to purchase will come from your realtor, the real estate agent that you're working with. They will be able to obtain that offer to purchase, and they will complete that with you and go over with that, and you will need to sign it and date it and provide your information on that offer. They do require that you provide your social security number or a tax ID number, and that's part of the buyer investigation process. It is required in order to submit the offer. And there's a reason for that, and we'll explain that in greater detail, but basically they are conducting an investigation, not necessarily on your background, but just to check to see if you have any other properties that are owned under that social or that tax ID number, and if there are any outstanding code violations or building code violations on any other properties that you might own in the City of Milwaukee, because if so, then you will not be able to do any further business with the City of Milwaukee. So that's part of the reason why they ask for that information on the offer, and it must be provided, otherwise the offer is incomplete and it will not be reviewed. Number two, the proof of funds or pre-approval document you must provide with your offer to purchase. Now, this must cover the purchase price and the scope of work. So again, if you're buying a property, if you see a house that's listed for $5,000 and the scope of work is 50, then you have to provide proof of funds in the amount of $55,000, not just $5,000. Because what happened is that a long time ago, a lot of people were buying properties at these very, very low prices, the dollar houses or $1,000 or whatever they were paying for them. And people would buy the houses because, because they have a couple of $1,000s in the bank. Let's invest in real estate. Let's buy this house. But then they didn't have the money to fix it up. So then the house would sit. A year or two later, it would go right back in the hands of the city. They don't want to keep taking these houses back. So that's why they implemented a new procedure to require that you show that you have the financial capacity to actually rehab these homes, because again, you have to pretty much put them back together from start to finish. So you're going to be installing everything from furnaces to water heaters, plumbing, electrical. Everything has to be put back into the property. So unfortunately, it's not enough to have enough money to just buy it, but you have to show that you have enough money to also rehab it and renovate it and bring it back to habitable status and bring everything up to code compliance. So again, your proof of funds or pre-approval letter must cover the purchase price plus the scope of work. These documents must be recently dated, and they must be in the name of the purchaser. So if you're an individual and you're buying in your name, Johnson, then the proof of funds document must be in Sally Johnson's name. And it has to be recently dated within the last 30 days. It can't be something that's 2, 3, or several months old, otherwise it'll get rejected. So it must show a current date as well as a current available balance on the document. And these documents will then be verified by the title company before we can go to closing. So the title company will contact the bank or the financial institution that's listed on that document to verify that document. And that means verifying the funds on the document that you provided at the time of the offer. So again, there was some previous prior fraudulent documents in the past where individuals were submitting documents that were uh, produced or edited or whatever it is was going on. So again, that procedure changed and was amended to the current procedure. So those documents do have to be verified before we can close. The number three item is the earnest money check. The earnest money must be exactly $750, no more or no less. Sometimes if people are in a bidding war, they want to put down more money, more earnest money deposit in hopes of winning the bid. However, this is the government. It is a set amount, nothing more or nothing less. So it will not be a determining factor in your offer. So once again, the set amount for earnest money for the City of Milwaukee properties is $750. That's $750 for every single property with the city. And this is for residential properties only. Commercial properties, there are different requirements, which we'll go over at a different episode, but this is in regards to residential properties. So again, earnest money amount on residential properties should be $750. It needs to be payable to the listing broker office to be submitted with the offer, or a copy of the check submitted with the offer, and then the original delivered to the listing office. Now, if this is a property that is not listed with a broker, and if it is listed with the city, then the earnest money should be made out to the selling agent's realty company. So if you're a buyer's agent, you're writing an offer for your buyer on a property that's listed with the city, then the buyer should make their earnest money out to your real estate company to be held in that company's trust account until closing. So it should be made out to that company's trust account or the listing broker, listing office trust account. Okay. All right. So we all good on earnest money? Great. All right. So number 4 is the scope of work. Scope of work must be submitted with the offer, whether it's the original scope or a modified scope. Now, you may have heard that we can reduce the scopes down by 40%, thus reducing the amount of funds to show. However, you should go through the scope of work line by line to determine which items can be reduced, because not all items can be reduced or considered sweat equity, such as electric. These are major rehab items that will require a licensed contractor to do the work and pull permits. So you want to be very, very careful with how you are modifying that scope. Don't just go to the last page and take 40% off whatever that bottom line number is, because you don't know, it might not calculate to 40%. So a good real estate agent will go through the entire scope of work line by line for the interior and exterior work and identify what items are sweat equity, such as painting. Sometimes you will see the scope of work will show $2,000 estimated cost for painting. And that you can go to, one of the local stores and buy your own paint and do your own painting on the inside. It's not going to cost you $2,000. It might cost you $500 for materials, or $200 for materials, and you can do your own labor. Same thing with windows and doors. You can go and purchase your own doors, windows, and your cost would be the cost of the materials and not the labor. So again, you want to go through the itemized list and make sure that you are very clear on what items you are reducing and modifying prior to submitting the final modified scope of work. All right, so that's the scope of work. And then lastly, number 5 item is the LLC articles of organization. Again, if you're buying under an LLC name, or if you have an LLC or a corporate entity and you want to purchase the property under that name, that's perfectly all right. You can buy it in any name, so long as you have the appropriate documents. So you want to make sure that you have your articles of organization, the proper documentation, as this will be part of the buyer investigation that the city will conduct once they receive an offer and review your offer. So make sure that you again have the articles of organization or your entity docs and your IRS IRS tax letter for the offer. And your offer should be submitted by a licensed broker or licensed agent who is responsible for showing you the place and providing access to the property for viewing. Once your offer is submitted, the city will review the offer. They will conduct an initial buyer verification and let the agent know if the offer is accepted or rejected. If the offer is rejected, they will tell you why. Either the amount is too low, or the offer may be missing some documents, or information was not verified, or there may have been something that came back that was negative or adverse. So if that happens, you may resubmit the offer once you make the corrections or adjust your offer accordingly. There are some items, however, that may disqualify you from purchasing city-owned properties. And this information can be found on the city website at city.milwaukee.gov/cityhouses. Again, that's city.milwaukee.gov/cityhouses under the general buyer policies. And what this says, if you go to this page, it says that basically the city can reject your offer if any of these items would apply. So number one, if you own other properties in the city of Milwaukee, if you're delinquent on any of the payment of taxes on those properties, then that could disqualify you from purchasing another city property, because they don't want you buying another city house and you're already behind taxes in houses that you currently own. So that could be a major disqualifying factor. If you have outstanding judgments with the city, if you have outstanding building code violations or health code violations from the city, that's another factor that could disqualify you from purchasing another city property. So you can't have any open orders, DNS orders, which we call them. DNS stands for Department of Neighborhood Services. You can't have any open violations on any other city properties that you own. So if you own any other city properties, make sure you're up to date on everything. Your taxes are paid. There's no outstanding judgments or work orders or code violations with the city. Otherwise, you won't be able to purchase any other city property. So it's important to keep up with all of those things if you are looking to continue to do business with the city of Milwaukee. And they just want you to be a responsible property owner, bottom line. So make sure you're up to date on all of that, and you can't have any last 5 years, because again, they don't want to repeat the cycle, and they don't want to set you up for failure. They want you to be successful. They want you to be responsible, successful property owner with their properties. So just make sure everything is up to date if you own other properties in the city of Milwaukee. And you should be all good. Make sure you don't have any outstanding judgments, any money that's owed to the city. Otherwise, you'll have to pay all that up and get proof of satisfaction, proof of payment on any monies that's owed to the cities before you can proceed with buying any other city properties. All right, that makes sense? Does that sound fair? Yeah, I know some folks don't like it. There's always something, but if you want to do business with them, you got to kind of go by those rules. So once you get an accepted offer, you are to immediately forward the earnest money check, that $750 earnest money check, to the listing broker office. And then you can proceed with your financing. If you're getting a loan or if you're paying cash, you don't have to wait for financing or appraisal or inspection items, which your real estate agent will walk you through in more detail. According to the offer to purchase form, you have 45 days to close. Once everything has cleared with title, you can schedule your closing, and they'll let you know a couple of things that the agents have to do. They have to get a meter reading and then coordinate with you final walkthrough before we can go to closing. Now, if you're paying cash, you certainly don't have to wait the full 45 days. You can close whenever the title company and the seller are ready. So if they're ready in a week or two, and title has cleared and they prepared closing statements, then you can certainly schedule your closing then. And once the funds have been verified, then you can certainly schedule closing. Now, if you do need an extension, you may request for closing, and the city may grant a one-time 30-day closing extension, but you will have to pay a non-refundable $250 extension fee. And that fee that is payable to the city of Milwaukee. So once that's paid, then you will have an additional 30 days added to your contract to close on the property. But that's a one-time deal. It's a non-refundable $250 extension fee, and it gets paid directly to the city of Milwaukee. After that, if you fail to close, then you lose your initial earnest money deposit of $750, and you would have to resubmit a brand new offer if you want to try to bid on the house again. So at the closing, once you close, you will get keys to the property, and you will have your agent will take the lockbox off when you do your final walkthrough and bring the keys to the closing. Otherwise, there could be an additional charge of $2.50. Keys aren't there if they're lost, and there may also be additional charges for the lockbox. So once you sign and you close, you fund, woohoo, congratulations on your new property, and then the real fun will begin. You start working and fixing up your new home or your new building. All right. So as you know, the city has residential and commercial buildings for sale. The requirements for commercial buildings are slightly different. I would advise you to consult with a commercial realtor for more information on commercial properties. We actually have a great commercial realtor in our office. His name is Randy Jones, and he can be reached at 414-395-8086. Again, that's Randy Jones at 414-395-8086 for all of your commercial real estate needs. Or you can email Randy at randy@midexec.com. That's randy@midexec.com. All right. Well, folks, that's it for today's episode on the ABCs of purchasing a city-owned property in the city of Milwaukee. This is a very basic outline of the requirements and parameters for buying City of Milwaukee properties. I hope you found the information to be useful and helpful and insightful. Keep in mind that there are other items involved when buying a foreclosure, and other things may come up because each situation is different. It's on a case-by-case basis. So it's always best to consult with a realtor who specializes in this area of the market, as it is a very, very unique and specialized area of real estate with many different requirements and caveats. So I've been doing REO foreclosures for almost close to 10 years now. I've done residential and commercial REO sales and REO listings. I'm an REO listing broker. So I'm quite familiar with that area of real estate. And I'm also a listing REO broker with the City of Milwaukee and contracted with the City of Milwaukee as an REO listing broker. So feel free to give me a call. And again, that's it for today, folks. I want to thank you for tuning in to this episode of Sonia's Real Estate Connection. It is indeed a pleasure and honor to serve my listening audience in this capacity. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be of service here. And folks, if you have any questions about today's topics you'd like to discuss or explore further in more detail, please send them in. Give me a call. You can reach me toll free at 844-777-7725. Again, that toll-free number is 844-777-7725, or give us a call at the office, 414-395-8771. Again, our office number is 414-395-8771, or you can send an email to info@midexec.com. That's info@midexec.com. And hey, don't forget to check our website for more listings. We have REO listings that are available for buyers, for home buyers and investors. They are open. There are some that are open to investor bidding, and we have information for buyers and investors. And so be sure to check the website at midwestexecutiverealty.com. Once again, that is midwestexecutiverealty.com. Hey, folks, I'm Sonia Mays, your local and trusted real estate expert and professional real estate broker with Midwest Executive Realty. We're located at Park Place in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, in the fabulous zip code 53224. That's 53224 in Milwaukee, just east of Highway 145. Hey, we're just a few minutes from our neighbors at Menominee Falls and west of Brown Deer and Heritage Heights. We'll see you real soon. Thanks again. I'll talk to you again real soon. Make it a great day.